3 settlements. I commend the bill to the House.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. The Honourable Shane Jones.
Speaker. Ko tā tātou e kōrero I tēnei wā ko te pire mei nganei ngā Punawai o te Tokotoru Claims Settlement Bill. Ko te hunga no roto I te ao Māori nā rātou tēnei pire I poipoi, tutuki no ki tēnei haora, ki tēnei wā, tēnā koutou. Tēnā koutou ka hu mai I roto I ena pānga kāinga o te ao Māori, ki tēnā rohe, ngā pūmanawa, tēnā koutou, tutuki no ki roto I te moana toi. Aha ko te pānuitanga tuatahi tēnei o te pireniki, he haringa ngākau nā mātou te kite I a koutou. I te tuatahi o te whānau mai tāmaki makaurau, tuarua, o te whānau iahu mai I roto o kahungunu, nā ko riro ko koutou, hei manuhiri tuatoru, hei mihinga mā mātou, hei mātakitaki no ki mā koutou I a mātou, e whiriwhiri nei, e runanga nei, me pēhea tēne ki pire e whakahohorongi ai tana whakatutukitanga I wainga tonu I a mātou. Nā reira tēnā koutou katoa. Mr. Speaker, once again I rise on behalf of the Labour Party to acknowledge that not only as the Minister brought forward another bill that we will be agreeing to, but there are elements within this bill that the Select Committee will pay particular attention to. The Select Committees, by and large, sir, in treaty matters, are not interested in the inevitable tension that comes from time to time within the hapu or iwi. We've got enough of our own tension to manage without indulging in the tension of hapu and iwi. So, from time to time, sir, neighbouring iwis do come to the Select Committee and raise contentious issues, and I look forward to those being sent where they belong, back to the marae and to the whānau. What we look at, sir, is whether or not the law that we're passing will be durable and whether it actually captures in word what the treaty partner, in this case, the elements from around Te Arawa, have actually agreed to or were mandated to agree to. So the Select Committee process will, for example, pay attention to the proposal to come up with a better scheme for addressing Māori interests and better resource management outcomes, I suppose is an accurate expression, in the Kaituna River, given that the Kaituna was one of the earlier well-known Waitangi Tribunal cases. In the heyday of Judge Eddie Jury, prior to him and the chair of the Crown Forest Rental Trust, the name of whom escapes me at the moment, unfortunately they seem to be locked in some sort of battle over there, the Crown Forest Rental Trust. Just when they get to one of our tribes of the North, Ngāpuhi Nui Tonu, they're saying they're running out of money. Maybe it's time to change the chair of the trust if that's the best they can do for that part of Māoridom. A tribe, I would tell the Minister, 135,000 members of the Māori people give this their tribe, Ngāpuhi. I myself may have mistakenly done it once or twice. No. And being reminded, I know you're from Te Opodi and the coast of Yugoslavia, not Ngāpuhi, but that's another matter. So naturally we'll support this bill, but we want to be absolutely confident as members of the Select Committee when it comes to us that the processes we put in place aren't overly bureaucratic and they actually enable all the stakeholders who have an interest in such key assets as rivers to not only play a role, but it doesn't end up stymieing the full range of uses that such an asset or a resource represents, a river. Now, sir, it's still work in progress in respect of how the Waikato River, not so much processes, what outcomes are coming as a consequence of the model that was originally put in place by our colleague Parekura Horomia, recently departed, and Dr. Cullen, and then refined by the current Minister. So this is a significant improvement, actually, because when the Resource Management Act, sir, was passed, it was just not possible to introduce such notions and concepts And as I said earlier, the closest we got was a vague reference to the ethic of stewardship, which in itself fell out of the Manukau Harbour report, championed by the now Dame Sian Elias, and her clients were Carmen Kirkwood and Ngānako Minhinnick. And as I recall, the kaumātua was Rua Cooper, a man who came and visited us many times at St Stephen's School, along with Henare Tūwhāngai, those tanifas of the Waikato tribe in their time. So that's one element we'll pay particular attention to, and ensure that this is an area where there's a lot of overlapping iwi interests. And what is being tried here is an attempt to bring them all together and then work with 4 or 5 local government entities. I mean local government as regional government as well. So it will be a challenge in the sense that it's hard enough to get local government itself to work together before we get a range of Māori entities. But it's worth a try. Naturally, the Minister and the reps from the iwi feel that it will be successful. So it's an also interesting comment on the process of treaty settlements that Ngāti Rangi Te Aorere, they had a settlement on account, I think is the technical term, of the Te Ngai farm, and it's sort of it's wandered along, and now it's here today with us. Now, it's not a large sum of money which is at stake here, but it does actually increase the visibility of Ngāti Rangi Te Aorere within the scope of the interaction both within Te Arawa but with Te Arawa and statutory authorities. So it's a rather bleak account of what happened to Rangi Wewehi. And all I can say is the bleakness of their asset loss has not been mirrored in their kapahaka performance. I only hope, sir, that their asset management mirrors their kapahaka abilities, and they'll do very well in asset management. But this does bring to the fore a number of... It brings to the fore an opportunity to try and recover what was lost, not just in assets, but in mana whenua, in visibility and influence. And at the end of the day, the influence will grow if it sits upon trust and goodwill. And that's a challenge to us as MPs and our proxies in local government. And if there's ever a case of local government failing the test in terms of resource management and local government's responsibilities, too often it's the case in how they deal with their local whānau Māori in areas such as resource management of rivers, the treatment of geothermal resources. I see the bill goes out of its way to explicitly note that any protocol entered into to do with Crown Minerals and the administration of Crown Minerals from Mobi, elements of which I hope to move out of Wellington in the not too distant future. Sir, I couldn't possibly apply that to you, moving you out of Wellington, but the bill is quite explicit. This does not give property rights or any ownership interest to the elements that comprise the iwi hapu elements that comprise ngā Punawai o te Tokotoru. All it does is it puts in place a process for interaction. And that might be disappointing because there is a body of thought, both politically and economically, that Māori rights should be spelt out more explicitly to geothermal resources. The only route that exists through there is by dint of being a landowner. There is no severable right that has been recognised other than a small reference in the Resource Management Act to the Minister that the people of Te Arawa, when the Council of the late 80s, early 90s drew up its geothermal plans, they were to treat as of right the ability of that whānau to use geothermal energy for communal purposes, non-commercial purposes. Presumably, that platform can be expanded. So we'll support this bill, but we do look forward to giving it a very significant airing at the Select Committee. Kia ora tātou.
The Honourable Tauhanari.